Chapter 37, Mutiny on the Border. The apparent divine providence in collecting the weapons of the drowned Egyptians at the Red Sea, combined with the Israelite celebration of their God of war, were the beginning of what was destined to happen when Israel came to the borders of Canaan. The defeat of the Amalekites served to cement the Israelites in the thought that what God had promised to give them, they must obtain through their own valor, using God as a lucky charm around their necks to speed them on their way to victory. Just as Abraham faltered in believing God would give him a son through Sarah, so Israel faltered in believing God would give them the promised land. The command of God in Numbers 13 to spy out the land of Canaan was actually a request of the Israelites to size up their foes. Look, he has placed the land in front of you. Go and occupy it as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, has promised you. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. But you all came to me and said, "First, let's send out scouts to explore the land for us. They will advise us on the best route to take and which towns we should enter." This seemed like a good idea to me. So I chose 12 scouts, one from each of your tribes. Deuteronomy 1:21-23. 10 of the 12 men who went to spy out the land made their estimations based upon their own perceived abilities. They gave no thought to what God could do for them. At first, a good report was given of the land. But this soon changed after they described the size of the men in Canaan. After exploring the land for 40 days, the men returned to Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel at Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran. They reported to the whole community what they had seen and showed them the fruit they had taken from the land. This was their report to Moses. "We entered the land you sent us to explore, and it is indeed a bountiful country, a land flowing with milk and honey. Here is the kind of fruit it produces. But the people living there are powerful, and their towns are large and fortified. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. The Amalekites live in the Negev, and the Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country. The Canaanites live along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea and along the Jordan Valley." Numbers 13:25-29. Only Caleb and Joshua looked upon the cities of Canaan in the context of what God could do for them. But Caleb tried to quiet the people as they stood before Moses. "Let's go at once to take the land," he said. "We can certainly conquer it." But the other men who had explored the land with him disagreed. "We can't go up against them. They are stronger than we are." So they spread this bad report about the land among the Israelites. "The land we traveled through and explored will devour anyone who goes to live there. All the people we saw were huge. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. Next to them, we felt like grasshoppers, and that's what they thought too." Numbers 13:30-33. The faith of Caleb and Joshua was not enlightened by the truth of God's nonviolent character as expressed in the person of Jesus Christ. But God met them where they were. In the context of their understanding, Caleb and Joshua demonstrated great faith in God. For them to look at these giant warlike men in heavily fortified cities and continue to believe God would help them defeat these nations was incredible faith. Just as Jesus patiently led his erring disciples, who did not comprehend the kingdom of heaven with regard to the use of swords, so he was leading the children of Israel. It was never God's desire for Israel to take the land of Canaan by warfare, but simply to trust him as he had shown them in the crossing of the Red Sea. The victory over the Amalekites convinced Joshua and Caleb that God would lead them in battle with the sword. God did not abandon them because of this misunderstanding. He met them where they were and continued to seek to build their faith and trust in him through their old covenant perspective. In this context, Caleb and Joshua stood head and shoulders above their brethren, who revealed themselves to be faithless. The 10 spies' evil report spread through the whole camp. None of them remembered the words of God that he would give to them the promised land. Then the whole community began weeping aloud, and they cried all night. Their voices rose in a great chorus of protest against Moses and Aaron. If only we had died in Egypt, or even here in the wilderness, they complained. Why is the Lord taking us to this country, only to have us die in battle? Our wives and our little ones will be carried off as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to return to Egypt? Then they plotted among themselves, let's choose a new leader and go back to Egypt. Numbers 14, 1-4. In his love and care, God had freed Israel from their bondage, even though they did not trust or believe in him. He fed them with manna. He gave them water to drink and shielded them from all the dangers of the desert. Moses had interceded for them and saved them from destruction in pleading for their lives several times. He had taught them the ways of God and patiently dealt with their complaints. How did the people respond to all this kindness? They accuse God of trying to kill them. They protested against Moses and Aaron and planned to kill them and replace them with leaders that pleased them. Quote, accordingly, they passed that night very ill, and with contumelious language against them. But in the morning they ran to a congregation, intending to stone Moses and Aaron, and so to return back into Egypt. End quote. Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, Book 3, Chapter 14, 3. This will always be the result of seeking to work out difficulties from our own resources. God had given plenty of evidence of his ability to deliver them. They continued to doubt him. The underlying fear of death kept manifesting in their thinking that God wanted to kill them. As we discussed previously, this psychosis was a projection of their hidden enmity against God and their desire to kill him. Moses and Aaron did not retaliate. They fell to the ground and began to intercede for the people. Caleb and Joshua tried to arouse the people to the blessing that awaited them if they would simply listen in faith. Then Moses and Aaron fell face down on the ground before the whole community of Israel. Two of the men who had explored the land, Joshua son of Nun and Caleb son of Jephunneh, tore their clothing. They said to all the people of Israel, "The land we traveled through and explored is a wonderful land, and if the Lord is pleased with us, He will bring us safely into that land and give it to us. It is a rich land, flowing with milk and honey. Do not rebel against the Lord, and don't be afraid of the people of the land. They are only helpless prey to us. They have no protection, but the Lord is with us. Don't be afraid of them." But the whole community began to talk about stoning Joshua and Caleb. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to all the Israelites at the tabernacle. Numbers 14, 5-10. Just as the Jews in the time of Jesus planned to murder Lazarus, who stood as a witness to the power of Jesus, John 12:10, so their forefathers planned to murder Joshua and Caleb for expressing faith in God's word. The spirit of Cain was alive in Israel, while the spirit of Abel rested upon Caleb and Joshua in their appeals to the people. We remind ourselves of the principles we learned in chapter 21 concerning hedge mechanics. In rejecting the Word of God and attributing to God lies about His character, the hedge of protection was once again breached. If Moses does not stand in the gap for the people, they will immediately perish. As Moses receives the word that the nation wants to choose new leaders, Satan would certainly be pressing Moses with the thought that the people will be destroyed for their faithless ingratitude and cruel lies about God, Moses, and Aaron. As in the case of the golden calf incident, the Lord reflects to Moses the fears being pressed upon him by the enemy. And the Lord said to Moses, "How long will these people treat me with contempt? Will they never believe me, even after all the miraculous signs I have done among them? I will disown them and destroy them with a plague. Then I will make you into a nation greater and mightier than they are." Numbers 14, 11-12. The Spirit of Christ in Moses immediately steps into the gap and intercedes for the people. Moses clings to the revelation given him of God's mercy and love. Now, if you slaughter all these people with a single blow, the nations that have heard of your fame will say, "The Lord was not able to bring them into the land He swore to give them, so He killed them in the wilderness." Please, Lord, prove that your power is as great as you have claimed. For you said, "The Lord is slow to anger and filled with unfailing love, forgiving every kind of sin and rebellion." But He does not excuse the guilty. He lays the sins of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations. in keeping with your magnificent, unfailing love, please pardon the sins of this people, just as you have forgiven them ever since they left Egypt. Numbers 14:15-19. After creating the breach, the destiny of Israel had been placed in the hands of Moses. The cruel plot to replace Moses would test any man in such a position of leadership. Moses remained completely in the hands of Christ. His pride was crucified with Christ, denying the natural human desire for revenge on those who mistreated him. Truly, Moses was the humblest man who had lived on the earth to this point. No man would come near to this revelation of humility until Jesus walked upon the earth more than 1,400 years later. Then the Lord said, "I will pardon them as you have requested." Numbers 14:20. Our Father in heaven successfully closed the breach around Israel through the intercession of Moses. This is exactly what God desired to happen. Once again, we make the point that it is impossible for Moses to be more merciful than God. All mercy that exists in this world comes from God. Moses is actuated by the mercy of God and manifests it in this time of crisis. As Moses indicated, if Israel completely perished at this point, the surrounding nations would naturally scorn this God, which could not bring his people out of Egypt. For their sake, Israel had to be spared, and thus the breach had to be closed. Despite this saving grace, the sin committed by Israel this time placed them in the same position as the angels which fell from heaven. They sinned against the light of the glory of God clearly shown to them. They had cut off all hope of believing the truth of God's character, and therefore they would die in their sins. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord, because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Numbers 14:21-24. The Lord points forward to the time when the whole world will be full of his glory because of the people who will arise to fully manifest the character of God. This is a reference to the 144,000 mentioned in the book of Revelation, who believe the truth of God's character as manifested in the Bible and especially in the life of Jesus. After these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. Revelation 18:1. The same thoughts are expressed in Isaiah. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, who shall stand as a banner to the people. For the Gentiles shall seek him, and his resting place shall be glorious. Isaiah 11, 9-10. The glory of the Lord is manifested in those who do not hurt or destroy. The Israelites wanted to kill Caleb and Joshua and believed in a God who wanted to destroy them. Such people can never reveal God's glory. This same thought is expressed in Habakkuk. Woe to him who builds a town with bloodshed, who establishes a city by iniquity. Behold, is it not the Lord of hosts, that the peoples labor to feed the fire, and nations weary themselves in vain? For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. Habakkuk 2, 12-14. Israel wanted to build their nation on bloodshed. Their praise of a God of war, their response to the Amalekites, and their thoughts about God wanting to kill them all pointed towards the building of a kingdom that was completely different to God and His Son. The Lord was willing to bring them through this to a correct understanding. But when the people rejected the Lord's anointed in the person of Moses, they rejected him in exactly the same way that the Jews rejected Jesus. Consequently, their house was left unto them desolate. Matthew 23:38. As we look through the filter of the life of Jesus, we see that the Israelites were judged as they had judged. They feared God would kill them in the wilderness, and so God allowed them to die, believing it was God who caused them to perish, when it was simply the natural consequences of their choices. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Matthew 7, 1-2. And he said to him, Out of your own mouth I will judge you, you wicked servant. You knew that I was an austere man, collecting what I did not deposit, and reaping what I did not sow. Luke 19:22. How long must I put up with this wicked community and its complaints about me? Yes, I have heard the complaints the Israelites are making against me. Now tell them this, as surely as I live, declares the Lord, I will do to you the very things I heard you say. You will all drop dead in this wilderness, because you complained against me. Every one of you who is 20 years old or older and was included in the registration will die. Numbers 14, 27-29. God's judgment that the Israelites would drop dead in the wilderness was simply their own judgment. God did not want them to die, but they limited the Holy One of Israel, Psalm 78:41, and they confessed like Cain that their iniquity was greater than could be forgiven. When God says in Numbers 14:23 that these Israelites will certainly not see the land of promise, it is because this is what they believed. They feared the Canaanites and thought they were all going to die. God's words are simply a reflection of their own. This is how the mirror works. While Jesus spoke to the woman caught in adultery the words, "Neither do I condemn you," according to the woman's faith, he spoke the words, "You will drop dead in the wilderness," to the Israelites according to theirs. So I was angry with them, and I said, "Their hearts always turn away from me. They refuse to do what I tell them. So in my anger I took an oath, they will never enter my place of rest." Hebrews 3:10-11. And to whom was God speaking when he took an oath that they would never enter his rest? Wasn't it the people who disobeyed him? So we see that because of their unbelief, they were not able to enter his rest. Hebrews 3:18-19. The anger of God is to allow the people to receive what they believe, no longer interfering to stop them from destroying themselves. Just as Pharaoh could not pass through the Red Sea without faith, neither could the Israelites pass through the wilderness without faith. Both Pharaoh, his soldiers, and the Israelites will end up in the same place when the entire wicked world stands before God. Outside the city are dogs, the sorcerers, the sexually immoral, the murderers, the idol worshippers, and all who love to live a lie. Revelation 22:15. What a lesson this is for us. Lord, deliver us from that hidden enmity which sees everything through the lens of death. Let us trust the words of God that he will deliver us and bring us into the heavenly Canaan. The giant corporations of this world seem invincible. Big tech and big pharma seem certain to destroy us. But their protection has departed from them in their efforts to deceptively slaughter millions. We are well able to defeat them by walking in the laws and statutes of our God. Let us pray for the Spirit of Jesus, which animated Caleb and Joshua, and believe God will keep his promise to save us and our children.